The Persnickety Witch of Fiddyment Creek by Gaye, Pollinger, Chapter 19. Anticipating a great long weekend in Kentucky, we packed the car, picked up Pearl at her cottage, and headed south early on Wednesday morning before Thanksgiving Day. During the trip, we sang songs and told stories and played games as the miles ticked by. We ate bologna sandwiches and cookies, and the kids watched for Burma shave markers and the accompanying jingles. We all liked "Cattle crossing means go slow. That old bull is some cow's beau," Burma shave. And "Slow down, Pa, sakes alive. Ma miss signs 4 and 5, Burma shave. The blue sky was filled with fluffy clouds. Telephone poles and leafless trees were a blur in the car windows as we drove south through rolling hills and unfamiliar landscapes. Early in the afternoon, outside of Lexington, we spotted the sign for Easterbrook Farms and turned onto the long tree-lined driveway. There were fenced-in pastures on both sides of the drive, the corral, and then the driveway opening onto a clearing. Before us sat the main house. The bunkhouse and stables were off to the side. Abby, Gabby, and Tessa spied us coming, and everyone was waiting outside. The kiddos opened the car doors, and everyone talked at the same time. It felt good to see them. It felt good to be at the farm. Almost the second Jameson emerged from the car, he asked to see the horses. Armando grabbed Kathy's and Jameson's hand and took them to the stable. "First, little ones, you must put on the saddle before you ride." We've all been around Armando long enough that we easily understood his accent. "But I'm not big enough," Jameson protested. Several minutes later, all 5 kids were riding. Kathy rode with Abby, Jameson rode with Armando, and at first Jameson looked frightened, but he relaxed and his lips formed a huge grin. Armando took the horse to a fast gait and eventually handed the reins to Jameson, who loved riding this huge horse, and he made Armando promise that they would ride again before they went home. "When you are older and can ride alone, you will be able to ride like the wind twister," Armando told Jameson. While the horses were brushed and returned to the stable, I glanced towards Pearl. Her eyes sparkled, and there was a faint blush on her cheeks. She put her arm through the crook of Jeff's, and they walked toward the main house. The Morgans and Tessa had arrived the day before and had purchased the turkey and other supplies to make the side dishes, and Gayle had already made 2 pies, pumpkin and chocolate pecan. She had even done a little Thanksgiving decorating with gourds, Indian corn, and candles, so the home was festive and ready to receive guests. Gayle quietly placed a meatloaf and foil-wrapped potatoes in the oven for our meal together. That evening, light chatter became a party atmosphere. We played a couple of board games. Jefferson put on a stack of 33s on the record player and moved towards Pearl. "May I have this dance, Lady Pearl?" I watched her walk into his open arms, and I knew at that moment that his intentions with her were gallant and noble. Soon we were all dancing to the tunes of Andy Williams and the Beatles and Elvis, the Mama and the Papas, and Johnny Mathis as the vinyl record spun around and around on the record player. That night, as Tom and I snuggled in bed, I whispered to him, "I bet he'll propose one of these days." Tom muttered some kind of response and then snored as he fell asleep. It was incredible to me to notice how comfortable we all were with each other in this extended family. The women all worked well together in the kitchen and put together a fabulous Thanksgiving feast. Armando and Tessa joined us for Thanksgiving dinner, and each person was asked to say one thing they were thankful for. Jameson was thankful that he got to ride Night Dancer. Tessa said she was grateful for Dr. Michael. Armando said he was thankful for finally to have his beautiful granddaughter home. She beamed with that compliment. I held my breath and touched Tom's knee, waiting for Jeff to speak. He cleared his throat a couple of times and then said, "I'm thankful for all of you that you consider me part of your family and that you drove all the way down here for Thanksgiving. I'm thankful that Pearl's in my life, and I hope she's glad to have me in hers." He stopped, and he waited. He finally glanced at her. A tear slid down her cheek, and She nodded her head up and down as she agreed. Hallelujah, he whispered to himself. Let's be seated and thank the good Lord for his blessings and enjoy this bounty. It sure smells good. Well, after dinner, we settled into the living room in the front of the roaring stone fireplace. A white bearskin rug was stretched out in front of the crackling fire. Kathy sat on it and rubbed the fur. Michael rearranged the burning logs and stirred the embers. Jeff's home was a sprawling farmhouse made of logs. Wood beams extended across the ceiling, and it was nicely decorated with leather furniture and animal hides, but it lacked a woman's touch. The kids sat at the game table and worked on an interesting but difficult jigsaw puzzle of a winter scene. I placed my coffee mug on the side table and I looked around and whispered to Gail, "Where's Pearl?" She shrugged. I looked again. "And Jeff?" Another shrug, and this time with raised eyebrows. "So, Lucy," Gail began, I think we should help Jefferson get this place ready for Christmas. Shall we go hunting for decorations? You think he has any?" she asked as she stood to her feet. "I wish it would," Kathy began to whine, but she was cut short. Jeff and Pearl came in through the back door. "It's snowing," he announced. "Come on outside." The kids scrambled to find their jackets and flew out the door. The air was filled with big, fluffy snowflakes. It didn't take long to cover everything. Flakes landed softly on the ground and made a white, sparkling coverlet. Gabby gathered a handful of fluff and tried to make a snowball, but all he could manage was to throw flakes that separated in the air. Jefferson laid himself on the ground and pulled Pearl down beside him. Jameson plopped himself beside Jeff, and the three of them kicked their legs back and forth and put their arms overhead and up and down and then to their sides. The rest of us joined them. An army of snow angels was about all that was going to happen, since the snow wasn't wet and heavy enough to make snowballs or a snowman. "Oh dear," Pearl giggled quietly. "I haven't done that in a long, long time." "Let's go get the tree in the morning," Michael suggested. "Is there like a tree nursery around where we could cut our own tree?" Jefferson told him that there was, and that that would be a fun outing for everybody. He even volunteered that there were decorations and garland and lights in the attic. And then he and Pearl climbed the stairs to the porch. He stomped the snow from his feet and winked at Pearl. "It's cold out here. Let's get back inside where it's warm. We've got something to talk to you about," he remarked as he glanced towards Pearl. The snow was tumbling from the sky and covered our coats and hair. The kids stuck out their tongues to catch snowflakes, but soon we were all gathered in front of the fireplace. Jeff began. "I've just been showing Pearl around the stable because I wanted her to see the horses." He paused, searching for the right words. "I've been thinking about giving up the thoroughbred horse business, which would involve a myriad of other decisions, and the accident investigation is still going on." He took a quick glance toward his boots. Straw was on his right knee. "Oh, I can explain this," he said as he wiped the straw from his knee. "You see, I've talked to Pearl about a couple of things." He grabbed her hand. The adults looked confused. "The horses and I've asked Pearl if she would marry me, and she said yes." Oh, a huge smile filled her face. She extended her left arm and showed us the ring. It was huge, round pearls surrounded by deep red rubies. It was gorgeous and absolutely perfect for Pearl. As well as congratulations, there was a flood of questions from all of us, like when, where would it take place, why so soon, how could we help? "You realize," Pearl calmly stated as Jameson climbed into her lap and Kathy leaned against Jeff, "that this is all new news to everybody, but we'll consider any suggestions and we'll talk about plans this weekend and develop an outline for a small," she paused. "Did you hear me? Small wedding. And don't you forget, Lucy, that I'm still Persnickety. It will be simple but lovely." She giggled and rested her head on Jeff's shoulder. He kissed her forehead and whispered, "I love you, Lady Pearl." Gail handed out small glasses of brandy, and Michael raised his glass to make it a toast. "Best wishes to you, to both of you. Aunt Pearl, I'm so happy for you and Jefferson. It's been a long time coming. Years, in fact. To Jefferson and Pearl. Jameson tugged on my sweater. Mama, he whispered loudly, trying to understand. Does that mean that Gammy won't be a witch anymore? Out of the mouths of babes.